The Kirky B Show with drummer Tosh, the drummer Peterson.
Hey, it's Kirky B, the Kirky B Show, and I'm here with the one and only Tosh Stoner, Tosh the drummer. How are you, man?
Dude, doing good. It's funny. Stoner's actually just my dad's name, but everyone confuses it. But it's his first name. But yeah,
There you go.
yeah, man. How are
Dude,
you
it's
doing?
so good to see you, man. I had to interview you because, well, I'm going to go back a little bit. I had to interview you because I remember you coming to a lot of DW events back when you were just a little grom, and you'd always come with your dad and you'd be hanging out. And I was like, oh man, this guy's really cool, and his dad, you guys are really cool, and you guys would be hanging out. And then I was like, wow, I wonder if you could play. And then there was one event, it was at a pro drum event or something like that,
Yeah.
and you came with your dad, and it was kind of like an open jam thing. And dude, you got up on the kit and just destroyed. I was like, face melting, like, oh my god.
Dude,
And yeah,
that's
so I've
so
been a fan
fun.
ever since. I've been following you on Instagram and on social media and just watching you progress. And dude, you're like one of the guys now, man. And you went from this like little grom to like now you're ruling. And let's talk about like who you've been playing with, because I noticed you've been out on tour, you've been doing a lot of gigs.
Yeah, dude. Well, thanks for saying all that, man. I remember that specific event. I think it was a pro drum or something like that. I remember being so nervous because you were there watching, and I was like so psyched. I was like, no way, Kirky B is watching me play drums. So I was so stoked, man. And but yeah, I mean, I've been out a lot. I mean, the past few years have been really busy for me. Like, I was doing Machine Gun Kelly for a little bit. Jaden Hostler doing a lot. I did the Kid Leroy. Did a few shows filling in for Fallout Boy. I was did Bad Bunny, Lil Nas X. I was just out with Junkook this last week.
Dude, and
Um,
that's where you got me. Like I knew you were playing with all these amazing artists, but then I was like, wow, because I love BTS. I don't care what
yeah,
any of you people watching this right now say about BTS, but they rule.
yeah,
So
dude.
I'm watching this Jungkook thing live, and there's this drummer killing, and I'm going, wait a second, I know who that is. And sure enough, I zoomed in. I was like, oh my god, it's Tosh. I gotta hit him up. And so that's when I hit you up last week. I was like, dude, is that you with Jungkook? And you're like, yeah. And so I just was really like blown away, and more than anything, so proud, man, because I saw you come up, bro, and you're just like you're killing it now, and
Oh, thanks,
it's
man.
just so great to see you doing well, man. I'm really
Thank you
proud
so
of you.
much. I really appreciate that, man. I've looked up to you forever, so it's really cool, man. I
Oh,
appreciate
dude,
it.
it's just there's always room for the new guys and gals to come up, and just to see that, it was really really exciting. And it brought me back to a thing. This was a few years ago. You probably remember this. I got called from a friend of mine who was a musical director for the show, the the Voice. Remember
Oh yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Yep.
And they called me, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I know the guy," and I recommended you, but you were too young. Was that the deal?
Yeah, I think it was like you had to be 18 and I was like 15 or something like that. Like, yeah, super. I just remember being so stoked getting even just considered for something,
Yeah, and I
man.
was so bummed too because I was like, "Well, I wonder if you could have got in if you lied."
I
Yeah,
know.
I'm 18.
Yeah, I know. I think I actually had done that multiple times, had to like lie for gigs when I was a teenager. I would just be like, yeah, dude, I'm 18. Like, after that, I started being like, it's fine, or just like not bring it up whenever like they wouldn't ask. I just wouldn't say how old I was.
Right,
And I mean, like, I think people always assumed I was older because I started getting tattooed when I was like 17 and stuff, and uh, I would just like make them think I was like 21 or something like that because I thought I could
right.
get the gig more if they thought I was older.
Right, right. And I just thought, God, it's a shame because you totally could have done that gig. I remember seeing it after it aired, and I thought, God, Tosh totally could have done that. But then I fast forwarded to your Jungkook moment, and I'm going, that was beneath him already. Like that was already beneath you, bro. So, but
Oh, thank you,
let's
man.
talk about what you've been up to, man. I know that you've been touring with all these amazing artists, but let's start with the gear. What gear are you playing and endorsing these days?
Yeah, so I'm playing Pearl drums now, which is really cool for me because my dad was always a Pearl guy. Growing up seeing him playing, he always had Pearl kits and stuff. So, yeah, Pearl drums, Zildjian cymbals I've always been on, Vic Firth drumsticks, and Aquarian drum heads. And yeah, those are the big four for me, man. I love them, and I mean, just having relationships with these companies is the best thing ever, and having like support wherever I go. Even I was just talking with Chris Brady over at Aquarian, because they like last minute. The junkook thing was fairly last minute with all the info they needed and stuff. So I sent over my backline, and they're like, "Oh, we can't get Aquarian." So first thing I do, get on the phone with Chris and the backline company, and we organize it. And he's got heads shipped out there the next day for the show and stuff. So yeah, man, having these relationships is like the best thing ever, and all the companies, they're the best, man.
Yeah,
They
well,
take care of
dude,
it.
especially now that you're the busiest drummer out on the road now with everybody, man, you're going to need that support. And you said you mentioned Pearl drums. What line of pearls are you playing?
I'm playing the Reference One right now, or the Reference Pure, I guess, another name for it. Which I love them, man. They're like the newest series of Reference, and they got a really nice, like tiny little lug on them, which shows off the drum, which I love. And they sound so sick, man. They sound so good. It's
Yeah,
a
because I
solid mix of
knew
drums.
I knew something was up because I remember watching your videos on Instagram and going, "Wow, his drum sound has changed dramatically." So it's the new pearls, right?
Yeah, man, they're killer. It's my first time having like a full like. I mean, I've had like custom drums before, but like a full custom kit where I like designed everything and worked with them on it for a while to get exactly what I wanted. And the whole kit is awesome too because I have like concert toms, a little Taylor Hawkins tribute, like, um, and I just yeah, I love it, man. It's like it's exactly what I could have wanted.
That's so great. And then Zildjian cymbals, of course, tried and
Yeah.
proven, the best of the best, right?
Yeah, man, I love it, man. My whole life, always played them since I was little, and they've always been very good to me, and they're the
Right.
best. Yeah,
I'm a Pisces guy myself, but
yeah,
hey man, it's either Pisces or Zildjian, right? I mean,
yeah,
and all the other ones are cool too, but you got to
yeah.
go
I
with
think those are the. In my opinion, I would agree with you.
the Vic Firth. And what model? Do you have your own model now?
No, I'm playing the Extreme 5B, and I love it, dude. I always played like the metal ends, like the Tommy Lee type signature, like the old Vic First that used to be his signature before he went to a head drumsticks.
Right.
And because that's what my dad always played. And then I started touring, and I was like, I think I want to go to smaller sticks. I went down to the Extreme 5B, and yeah, I've pretty much been playing those since I started touring when I was like 16. So yeah.
Right. So what's touring life like these days? Because I know since the pandemic and stuff, traveling has been a little harder. How's that affected you during these times?
It's I personally like I really took the pandemic to like hone in on what I want to do with my life and my career, and really just like practice as hard as I could because I was touring a lot before, but like coming out of the pandemic, I started like getting to do a lot of the bigger gigs that I've dreamed of doing and stuff. And um, traveling is definitely different. I mean, like I just know there's a lot more that goes into it because I had toured Asia and stuff before the pandemic and Europe too, but like Asia was the one I noticed the biggest difference in because I had toured there before the pandemic and
Yeah.
then like touring there after the pandemic as well. I noticed like a big difference in uh, like all the rules and stuff to get over there, all the like the hoops and stuff you have to go through, like it's extensive searches and stuff, and uh, listing all the countries you've ever been to in your entire life. And I'm like, oh, dude, I don't even know. I'm like calling my mom, like, where was I 3 years ago on this day? Like, so yeah, I definitely noticed it's gotten like a little bit harder, but still obviously so worth it. But I mean, I think it's probably for the best. You know, it's like I feel safer. I still am like, what if I'm flying? I want to wear a mask, and I don't want to get sick in general. You know?
Yeah, right. Well, especially as a touring musician, I mean, all the different time zones and all the different weather and
Yeah.
janky dressing rooms, and yeah, I mean, it all adds up, right? And you get on the bus, you're tired, and it's just a perfect combination of things that could, you could come down with the cold or flu, and then now this, COVID or whatever. But
Yeah.
more, but like, what's it like to be able to tour? I mean, I started touring when I was 19, and you're 19 too right now, right?
I'm 22 now.
Oh, 22 now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 22, man, that's like, dude, you're just like at the top of the heap, and even going further and playing with all these artists, and you're only 22 years old. Where do you see your career going within the next like 3 to 5 years? Do you want to keep touring, or do you want to start your own band?
You know, I kind of want to just like I want to tour for the rest of my life, man. Like I feel look at it and I'm like, I don't see how I could ever want this to end. You know, it's the best thing ever. I mean, like I would say my ultimate goal would be to be like a member of a band, or like maybe join a band that's already like going or something, you know. But just because I love that whole band vibe, I would love to be able to tour like the records that I play drums on. You know, I think that that's like the coolest thought is like write and record an album and then tour it. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, being a hired drummer still is like it's the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, dude, I get paid to travel and play shows. Like, I couldn't imagine anything else, you know?
That's so rad. I remember when the Foos were looking for a drummer, I was like, oh man, they got to call Tosh.
Yeah, that would have been a dream. It's funny. I always say like my dream gig would be as if Oasis did a reunion tour and then had me play drums for it.
All right, you hear that, Oasis fans and management, and
Yeah,
he's available. Call
yeah.
Tosh.
Hit me up, Liam.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like the early days, man. You mentioned a few times now that your dad was a drummer, and he obviously was a big influence on you. Like, when did you actually start playing drums? How old were you?
I was like 2 when my parents got me like a drum kit that I could fit on, and I think I've just kind of like never stopped. You know, like they couldn't get me off of it. I remember like when they got me a double pedal when I was like 5 years old, and I was like hooked on it, and I was like, I'm gonna do everything with both feet now. And but I can't really remember a time where I didn't want to play drums, to be honest, just because I
Wow.
loved it so much. But I mean, yeah, I think, obviously getting to see my dad play drums and play shows and stuff, and visiting him was like the coolest thing ever, getting to see him play and stuff. And I just remember like always my mom would be taking us down to my dad's shows wherever it was, whether it was a local show or out of town or anything, like I got to see him play my whole life. And I was always just like, that's what I want to do. And he was always shirtless and like, you know, kicking his shit over. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Like,
You're definitely following your father's footsteps, and it
yeah,
seems like now you're just excelling and just, I mean, dude, I mean, the list of artists you played with, bro, that's heavy. Like, and you're only 22, and I can't wait, 5 years down the road where we get to talk again, and I get to interview you again, hopefully, and we could talk about like who you played with between now and the next 5 years. But
yeah,
that's just so rad that you're doing it, man. And I think there are a lot of viewers that are going to watch this, and they're going to see, and they're going to want to know, like, what do you suggest for the upcoming drummer that wants to be like Tosh the drummer, that they want to be like you, like, you had your idols, and they want to be like you, and they want to follow in your footsteps? What would you suggest to them? What would your advice be?
man. I think there's definitely two big things. One is practice and hone your craft as much as you can on your own and get as good as you can on your own. But the when I really noticed myself like start to progress is when I was playing with other musicians and learning how to like work in a band, not just being a good drummer and having like chops and stuff, but learning how to apply them to music the right way without like, completely derailing the song and,
Right.
making sure everyone's happy. And because at the end of the day, like I get hired to play a certain way because I have like the style that I play. But if someone wanted me to play differently, I couldn't go in there and play like I would want to or like, I'm not going to go in there and be like shirtless knocking shit over if someone's like, can we do like this reserved, samba groove or something? Like, so really just like playing with other musicians and practicing on your own and having a good like hybrid of that. That's probably my biggest advice, just because I spent so much time alone in my drum room practicing and trying to get as many chops and stuff down as I could and playing along to every song that I could, and trying to learn as much music. But really where I started to work is once I started realizing like how to play with other musicians and fit in there and kind of lead a show. Like my first gig that I ever had was playing for Nick West, the bass player. And there was no click track, nothing like that. And so I, like at a young age touring, I had to learn like the old school way with monitors and like wedges and stuff. I didn't have in-ears. I just had wedges, and we'd be playing in front of 20,000 people with no click track. And I'm like terrified, because my whole life I've practiced to a click, and I'm like, I have to now run the show. So being able to play with other musicians is what, like, that was like a crash course in it,
Right.
And so definitely, I mean, that was kind of a long rant to just say, hey, play with as many people as you can and really just, practice and get as good as you can at what you want to do and really just try to be yourself. You don't want to be the guy who just copies someone else's style,
Well, that's what I noticed about your playing. Like, you bust out all the heavy rock grooves and stuff, but I heard you bust out some funk and some R&B kind of stuff. And so you seem well-rounded, I mean, like if a rapper called you, I think you could totally handle the gig or a heavy rock gig. You just seem to have a well-rounded approach to drumming. Do you think that that's really important for drummers to follow through with and just kind of know as many styles as you can and be proficient at it?
Definitely. I remember like laughing because I had like with my dad about this, because I had done like Young Thug, who's a rapper. I had played for him the same week that I started playing drums for Jaden, who's like a pop punk singer, and it was like two completely different genres. To then like, and then we were just talking about it last week, and I was like, and then look at me playing with Junkook, like I'm like playing like these tight funk grooves with him in R&B songs, and I think it's just like the best thing ever is being able to play with as many musicians and stuff. Like if you can play any genre, that's just not just more work, but it's more fun. It's like I would get bored if I only played one genre for the rest of my life. Like
Right.
I think I like, if you hear me in my drum room playing along to music, it's like I'll play along to a Wailers song and going from like Bob Marley to Slipknot, like back and forth, like literally from this song to that one. Just because I love it all, and I genuinely listen to every genre. And so like being able to understand it more than just playing it, it's like if you actually listen to them, then you're going to understand them more.
Right. And so going back around 10 minutes ago, you said you would like to be in a band and just be in a band. Do you think that would be boring after a while?
Well, no, because I see like, look at like Chad Smith, for example. He's in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but then he'll go and do gigs with Eddie Vedder when the Chili Peppers are off. And I just, as much as I wanted to be in a band, I don't think if the band has a month off, I don't think I could sit still for a month. I think I need to. I think I would need to keep moving with other stuff. And I just like being busy, man. And whether I'm making the same amount of money or not, I'm gonna go and just do what I love to do, kind of thing. And
And is the money important to you, or the gigs and being able to be a drummer and play music?
Man, the drums are where it is for me, man. I've always like said if I had never made money or had any popularity or fame playing drums, like that wouldn't stop me from playing drums all day, every day. I might
Right.
have to work another job, but I wouldn't care if I got to come home and play my drums, like for me, just drumming is like the best thing ever. And I was talking to someone about it this weekend, being like, they were like, "Oh, do you play guitar? Would you ever want to be a music director?" And I'm like, as cool as that would be, like that's not what I do. I'm a drummer, and that's what I like to do. And I like knowing a little bit of some other stuff for fun, but really, what I love to do is just play drums, and that's all I really
Yeah.
care about.
Yeah. And sometimes that's just the best way to be, because you know that's your wheelhouse. If you go out of it, it just won't feel comfortable. And I'm the same way. I just want to be hired, and I want to play, and then I want to go home. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? you know?
yeah. You want to play drums, and then yeah, it's the best thing.
Yeah. So like, so let's get back to like your influences. Like I know your dad was a big influence. Like what other drummers were your influences coming up?
Yeah, I think my favorite drummer of all time has always been Thomas Pridgen. Like when I discovered him, I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I was like, this is like the coolest dude I've ever seen. And I ended up taking lessons with him for like 5 or 6 years, and he's still a close friend, and like I still think he's an incredible drummer. But like he was a big one, not just because I'm on this podcast, but you were a big one, seeing you play, and
Oh, dude, thank
uh,
you, man. Thank you.
Chad Smith, Josh Freeze, this guy Boots Green. I don't know if you know him, but
I know of him. Yeah.
yeah, he's incredible, and he really inspired me with the hip hop stuff and like getting into drumming along to like rap and that type of stuff. Was like watching him play. It was incredible, and yeah. So I mean, that's just to name a few, but I listen to so many different drummers and so much different stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I could tell. I mean, when I hear you play, you definitely have a lot going on. It's like, oh yeah, that's a little bit of Thomas, that's a little bit of Chad. I hear
Yeah.
that going on a lot, but that's good, man. But the whole thing, I think, when I hear you, I think, God, no one plays like Tosh.
Oh, dude, thank
That's what
you.
I dig about your drumming. It's very unique. You hit hard, which is
Thank
like
you.
that's incredible. But and your stamina, that's really important. Um,
Yeah.
and speaking of hitting hard, have you ever injured yourself? Because I know just like 2 hours of that, at some point, man, something's gonna feel weird. It will on me because my ass is old. But I mean, have you ever like got off the kit and went, yo, my shoulder or my hands, or have you had any issues like that?
I
You hit
haven't.
hard, bro.
Thanks, man. I love hitting hard, but I haven't, and I think that the big thing is like when I'm at home practicing, I'm like never hitting hard. Like I practice very very lightly, and then I get on stage and I just get excited and start beating the shit out of the drums, kind of. And I I think it's just like I've never had any injuries like that. I think the only one is like when I get a little excited and start headbanging, my neck gets sore, and I'm like, oh, I should probably be careful with my neck.
Right.
Um, but like a cool like when I filled in for Fallout Boy and I only had like a day to learn 25 songs. So playing with them
Wait. Stop. One day to learn 25 songs. How did you do that?
yeah. Oh, I have like I don't know, I have like a weird charting system that doesn't really make sense to a lot of people, but I can like help me remember it, and I like kind of like remember how it looks in my head. And I didn't want to like just stare at the chart the whole time, so I just kind of like wrote it down and tried to remember it. But basically, I just didn't do anything all day except learn those songs. It was like they asked me on a Wednesday night, and we played on like a Friday night, so I had like a day and a half about of just like shut my phone off and just listen to the two track from front of house and just learn it basically. Um, but with that being said, though, I was like so focused that I wasn't like overperforming or over going off or anything. So like it was funny because like I was playing two sets a night because I was playing with the opening act as well as them, and so I was like more tired from the opening set, and then I would like play theirs, and I was like, oh, it's like I don't feel sore at all. Just my brain hurts from trying to remember all the parts. Like it was. It's just when I get really comfortable and start overperforming that's when my neck and stuff gets sore.
Right.
But
Right.
But yeah,
So
that was a whole crazy situation. But yeah,
right. So at some point you'll be like okay, I could kind of take it easy here, and then I'll just go all out here.
yeah,
But for right now, it's all out right now.
yeah. I'm like, there's nothing stopping me. I'm like, I might as well have fun with it and enjoy what I'm doing.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So man, so in wrapping up this interview, man, which has been incredible, how can we contact you? How can we follow you on social media? How do we get a hold of you, man? Do you have a website?
Yeah, so I mean everything online is Tosh underscore the drummer, like on all social media. It's uh, yeah, I got Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I mostly am on Instagram to be honest, but I respond to all my messages. Anyone can find my email there. It's just toshdrums@gmail.com. And yeah, anyone can reach out. I'm always up to respond, answer any questions, or work with anyone and just make good music.
Right on. And I know there's going to be a bunch of people asking, does he give lessons? Do you give lessons?
Yeah, I do. Definitely when I have the time, it's hard to like find it in my schedule, but like I'm always up for teaching and I love teaching and helping out wherever I can. So
Right
definitely
on.
don't be afraid to ask. I'm more than happy to help out.
Okay. And then moving forward, like what gigs you got coming up? Any more junkook or BTS? What's up?
Yeah, so that possibly, I'm not too sure yet what he has on his plate coming up, but I'm sure there will be some stuff with that. I record a lot for those guys from home that's kind of how I got in with them is I help out with their live arrangements. So I record from my home studio for whatever they want, like their live arrangements that their music director comes up with. And so that way it makes the rehearsal time shorter for them. They can just tell a drummer, like, learn this note for note, and then it shortens the rehearsal time. Um, so doing a lot of that stuff, a lot of recording from home. I have some shows next week with Travis Barker's son, Landon Barker, which is going to be fun. Um, but yeah, just kind of like floating around, kind of trying to see what's next right now, to be honest. Just I've been gone all year, so it's kind of nice to be home for a little bit and kind of just figure out what's coming up.
Right. Well, man, we will definitely follow you on social media and continue watching you and your progression, which is already like stellar and way at the top. And I just want to thank you, bro, for doing my podcast, the
Oh,
Cookie
thank
Bee
you.
Show. And dude, I cannot wait to see what you're going to do next, man. It's always I love watching you on Instagram and seeing what you're up to.
Well, thank you, bro. I really appreciate that. I'm a big fan of you, so
Oh, dude,
this
thank you,
means a
man.
lot.
Yeah. Well, right on, man. Tosh the drummer, everybody. The man. Cookie Bee Show out. See ya.